Biryani is derived from the Persian word biryan. This means fried before cooking, I believe, and birin, the Persian word for rice. Biryani has found its roots from the Persian Gulf and is believed to have made its way to India with the conqueror Timur in 1398. Finally landing up in the western region of India, bringing in the religion and culture, each religion has taken this humble dish and turned it into a dish fit for kings and queens. Today, I'll be bringing this into Indira's little or maybe not so little world. Hi, this is Indiraa and cheers. This is my virgin mojito and welcome to Indira's World. Today, it's about staying alive and kicking during the lockdown, and also we are having rice fever. It's going to be fun. 3 different rice dishes, but all at the drop of a hat. Okay, so let's just get right into this because we have very little time to spare. Today I thought we'd do a recipe that's that's the dog drinking from the bowl. We're going to do a recipe that kind of feeds the whole family, but I'm giving 3 options. I'm giving a chicken option, a lamb option, and a vegetarian option with vegetables. It's also suitable for vegans. And it's got its carbs, it's got its proteins, but you have the option to use more of protein, less of carbs, or half and half, or more of carbs, less of protein, depending on what you want. I will give you the breakup. So we're starting with 3 tablespoons of oil. We're using slightly more because we mix both the carbs and proteins, so we're going to be able to absorb more of this. Now, I don't actually use 3, I use 2, but ideally, if you want it soft and gooey, then we go with 3 tablespoons of oil. I use olive oil, as you know. I repeatedly say so. How have things been going with all of you? The weather's so nice. I don't know about you, but I'm loving it here on Willow Farm. And to this, I am adding, branched out again, a tablespoon of cumin seeds, 4 cloves, 4 cardamom, and a stick of cinnamon. All that goes into your pan, and actually I'm going to pop that cinnamon in. Now to this I am adding the wet ingredients. Now what I've done with the wet ingredients are I have used 2 huge sprigs of mint, 2 cups of coriander, a ginger bit about that much, 1 1/4 inches of ginger, I use 1 full red onion, and 2 bits of garlic, 2 cloves of garlic. Now I've taken all that and I've put it in this whisk. Okay, now I've blitzed all that together. That's all the green spices, the wet ingredients as I call it. Now that's going into our hot oil, which has our cumin seeds and our cloves and our cardamom and cinnamon, and all that's going in with this wonderful green spices of onion and coriander, mint, ginger and garlic. Now then to this I'm going to add a teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of garam masala, 1 tablespoon of ground coriander powder, and 1 tablespoon of ground cumin powder. Now you get all this in the supermarkets. There's no having to really hunt around for all these ingredients, as much as they sound a bit alien at times to people. As you go along with this cookery show, you get pretty used to it. We're going to cook this down with salt to taste. Now I'm adding a little bit extra of the salt because we're going to add rice to this as well. Now earlier I have flash fried 400 grams of lamb cubes. We're going to cook this down till the raw taste goes out of it and add in our lamb cubes. And we cook that until it's soft and the lamb is really succulent and soft. And when it's almost there, we add in 1.25 cups of rice. Now this rice has been soaked in water, so it's stayed there for a bit, and I add that in. Top it up with water or stock, as the case may be, and cook that down, and there you have it. A wonderful green masala biryani, which I'm going to top with fried onions and some nuts. I've used cashew nuts, pistachios, and some berries, dried berries on top of that, and that will be a very wholesome meal. Now, if you want to add more than 400 grams of the lamb, then I suggest you use only 3/4 of a cup of rice if you're going to sort of make it more protein, less carbohydrates. And if you're trying to bulk up the whole thing and use less lamb, put more rice, just remember, add water accordingly, as much as the rice needs for cooking. I have the rule of thumb, I always add in water and make sure there's that on the dish, one little part of my thumb above it, and it seems to get it quite right. But also, if ever your rice isn't cooked, don't forget, add boiling water to it, don't add cold water. Now, in this generic green sauce, before you add the lamb, you could add chicken, but when you're adding chicken, make sure you don't cook it as much when you add in the rice, because chicken can get quite dry, or it can also just obliterate if you overcook it. Now, I've given options of using 400 grams of chicken, 400 grams of lamb, which I've flash fried, as I said, in olive oil. And I also have an option, mixed vegetables. Now, I've used frozen vegetables. You don't have to, you can use fresh vegetables. I've used carrot, peas, and beans, and a little sweet corn, just bits of it. I bought this ready, and I've just par cooked it, and it's ready to go in instead. So there we have it. Cook this through now till it looks like this. There you have it. I've got this wonderful lamb all cooked up in all the juices and all the flavors, the spices, the wet ingredients, dry ingredients. Added the rice. Now, I've used 1.5 cups of rice to 400 grams of lamb. You can do more or less depending on what you want. Now, you can use chicken, you can use vegetables, as I said, but what I decided to do is give you a bit of a bonus today, and that is this. My bonus is, if you decide you actually don't want any carbohydrates at all in this, and you'd rather just have a wet curry and serve it with something else, with boiled rice, or just a jacket potato, whatever you want, it's up to you, then you just used, when you throw in the chicken or the lamb, you can even use beef, whatever the vegetables, you can cook it through into a curry like this. Now, this on its own is also lovely, but as I said, once it's at this point, you can always throw in the rice. I actually sometimes throw in, say if I'm doing a lamb version, I throw in some vegetables into it as well, so I get veg and lamb together. And this is very popular because like these days people are eating far more protein and far less of carbohydrates. So I try to give you a recipe where you can incorporate with and without the carbs. And you can always add it in, or make a plain pilau rice, a very generic one, which I time after time will tell you. Now, this is basically how they both are going to look done. And then it's always nice to kind of garnish with all the yummies. Now, I garnish with fried onions, cashew nuts, berries, as I said earlier, pistachio nuts. Oh, I just learned recently that it was called pistachio and not pistachio, because I went to Italy and I kept asking for pistachio ice cream and I got corrected about 10 times. So there, you live and learn something new every day. Let me show you how it looks when it's all plated up. Here we have it. These are all, this is the vegetarian version, this is the lamb version, and I've served it up with some minted yogurt with red onions in it. Nothing very fancy. I even use ready mint sauce in yogurt sometimes and just put red onions. It's very nice. These recipes are all made up. They're not real authentic recipes from any great cookbooks, but they are from my cookbook, from my heart, because they're inspired by Joey, my cook, who brought me up from when I was actually a day old. So he's very much in my heart, and these recipes are inspired by him. But to be honest with you, I have made up the proportions because I don't actually know, but I go by what he taught me, which is a bit of advice I'm going to give you before I close up, is what's most important in a recipe is not the measurements, but you will know only by the taste and the smell, and a good cook will try a dish and know what goes into it. And 9 out of 10, I think actually 9 out of 10 times, or 99%, even 9.9 times, I actually do go to restaurants, try something, and I pretty much get it right as to what goes in it. So it's all about your taste buds. It's not so much, someone may want more lemon, someone may want more salt. It's just what you want, but the most important part is to know what goes in. Get those taste buds going. None of these dishes are actually authentic recipes. They were all inspired by my cook Joey, who brought me up. And I always sat on the little stool next to him when he was cooking after school and then after uni, as I grew up in life. And he's known me since I was a day old. And he kind of taught me all these recipes. And I never quite got the proportions right, but I went along with it, and these are all made up by me, but inspired by him. He always told me that you should know what goes into a thing by tasting it. No one can tell you what goes in it. You need to know, and that's a good chef. On that note. Hey guys, thank you for watching. Follow me on Instagram at IndiraasWorld. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so don't miss out when I'm next on.